Welcome to Around the Horn, brought to you by Minnesota Jaffrey's in collaboration with Lifted. Um, it's their first real showcase that Minnesota is bringing to you before their tournament, which is really in 6 weeks, around the corner. Um, I want to first thank Matham, Monty, and their team for allowing me to be the host for this, first time ever, maybe may not happen again type stream, which I think that is super cool. I think it's innovative. I think it's going to not only boast media, it's going to push the narrative forward, the youth to come watch the games, even if they're not playing, people who are just watching around the globe, right? Just to be interested in what's going to happen in just 6 weeks. With that being said, for those who have seen Around the Horn and for those who have not, one of the longest running shows on ESPN. It has usually about a panelist of 4 or 5 guys that are, writers or analysts or reporters. But in this case, we have 4 of some of the most elite players in our game giving takes on some of the hottest topics in the game. I'll be your host. My name is Sal Karmali, and I'll try my very, very best to be like Tony Reali as much as I can be. How it works? Easy. 4 contestants, 4 panelists, which I will introduce to you shortly. They'll have 15 to 20 seconds to give their take on a certain topic that I'll ask them about or bring up. There'll be a live leaderboard that you'll be able to see because I will be giving them points based on their takes. I guess I will debate them back and forth a little bit, not necessarily all the time, but if I like their take, hey, more points for you. If I think their take is a little suspect, maybe I might deduct some points. I don't know. I'm an easy grader. Don't worry. Suck up to me. You're going to be all right. All 4 panelists will give a certain take on a topic. I think it's going to lead to good conversation. I think it's going to lead to good debates. After 10 topics, 2 of the 4 will move on into something called a face-off, and the points will again start from scratch, with each panelist now having 30 to 45 seconds to give their take. After 5 topics in the face-off, which only, again, 2 out of the 4 will advance to, the man with the most points will have 2 minutes to speak about something they hold near and dear to their heart when it comes to the game of volleyball. That man will also be awarded some lifted swagger, Minnesota Jaffrey swagger at the upcoming tournament. So a lot of incentive, obviously, to give your best take, a lot of incentive to do well. And I think we're all here to really push forward what's going to happen in Minnesota in just a few weeks. I think really push forward the game of volleyball. And I tell this to all my guests on Lifted, but I'm honored to have you guys here. Thank you for taking your time out on a Sunday night to get this done. Now, I'm going to introduce the panelists to you. First, 6-time champion, the best front right in the game, in my opinion. Front right, but maybe the best front line in the game. Front right of Orlando Union. To me, the GOAT of frontline players. I wish I can give myself points for that take. I think that was a really good take. Gumel Jessa, KJ. KJ, thank you for coming on board and thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me, bro. Appreciate the introduction.
Next, another 6-time champion. Probably going to go down as the best front center to ever wear a United Stars uniform. My little cousin, Irfan Karmali. Irfan, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. Love the introduction. Appreciate it.
Got you, brother. The last 2 boast a combined 26 Ramadan tournament championships. And I'm just kidding. 2 up-and-coming stars in our game who are chasing their first coveted championship. I remember that feeling. It's the best feeling. I wish you never lose that feeling. I know that means that you're probably going to lose, but trust me, that feeling, I still kind of have it. It's the best. 2 cornerback line guys who are up and coming. They've really showcased their talents the last tournament. One in Matham Mehdi, the captain for Minnesota Jaffrey's, one of the hosts of this tournament. I know you guys have all been talking to him, but Matham, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And Mo Kaku, guy who, he's been like a journeyman a little bit, right? Front right, front left. Finally found his footing in what is the back right. But wait, I'm hearing some rumbles that you may be moving from the back right, but we won't get into that conversation right now. Anyways, one of the best in the back, up and coming, and from Van City Sports Club. Thank you so much, Mo, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, guys, here we go. We're going to start off 3 separate topics, really, categories that we're going to go from: current affairs, tradition and culture, and gameplay and strategy. It'll be randomized. I know you guys have all been kind of given in advance some of these topics, so I hope you got some good takes. We'll start off. Irfan Karmali, you get to go first. Orlando, defending champions. First topic to you, Irfan Karmali. You are a man who has won back-to-back championships in that run in 2013 when you beat Faisal, you beat RKs back-to-back. How hard is it going to be for Orlando to come into Minnesota after winning, 8 months ago? It's a long time, 10 months ago, potentially. How hard is it going to be for them to win back-to-back championships?
Yeah, I believe usually it's very hard to go back to back to find that motivation. But with it being 10 months, there's been a lot of changes, new teams, exciting teams. We're coming with an exciting new team. So there's a lot for them to focus on, and also for them to win outside of Orlando. It's a thing a lot of teams struggle with. We haven't won outside in Toronto. I don't think they've won outside Orlando since 2014. So
yeah,
that's something I'd look forward to as well.
Yeah, fair point. Mo, to you, what do you think? Back-to-back champions is going to be tough for Orlando to kind of pull out here?
I think it's the toughest thing to do in volleyball if the second tournament's away from home. I look at Stanmore, like they won their tournament in Wilaya, then they came to Orlando and they played okay, but you can't say that they played their best.
No.
I think it's a good tournament to try and do it because teams like Stanmore and Jaffrey's are apparently not showing up. But again, they do have stars in the way, and they have an upcoming Minnesota team in the way. And one of those, bottom teams or like mid-table teams could definitely, find their stride in the round robin and in the tournament. So
fair enough. I like both your points. Irfan, 3 points for Irfan, 4 points for Mo. Mo, I like your points a lot. KJ, what do you think? You're coming in, me and you coming in here together. Let's see what you're coming from the guy who's doing it. What's your take? You think it's going to be easy? It's going to be tough? You've done it before.
I agree with both Mo and Irfan. Coming into another tournament is one of the hardest things, being on top, because you have to hold that, you have to be on top of that horse. And we've had bad experiences in the past. You knocked us out in 2013 from in New York right after us winning in Orlando.
Very good points.
Yeah, give me them points, bro. Anyway, but to counter that, I think we're a team that's past that point where like nerves, they don't play. They play a big part. Don't get me wrong, but not as much as the first win, for example.
Yeah.
I think we have a good chance.
Fair enough. 2 points for KJ. Matham, you're hosting, right? Like you want to win. What's that going to be like? Well, you're obviously your eyes set on Orlando, and if I'm not mistaken, you have made some serious callings saying that you're going to take down Orlando, you're going to beat Orlando, you're going to find Orlando. So, what's your take on it?
I think if there's a team that can go back to back, I think Orlando is one of those teams that can. But I think it's going to be a very challenging time for them because I feel like it's hard to stay motivated, and I feel like that Orlando Union hunger is not there as it used to be. So personally, one of our goals for Minnesota is to beat Orlando this tournament. So we are excited for that challenge.
Wow. I like that. 3 points for Matham just for the hot take. We're going to move on to Mo. I'm going to start with you. What is your thought on a team beating another team lovely in a tournament? Do you still think that's something that's taboo, we shouldn't do? Do you think that's something that it's okay now? Figure it out. It's something that people should be proud of, to beat someone in love.
I think it's 100% taboo, and everyone's there to win, but you should 100% play with and you should play with a competitive edge, but not to the point where you beat them in love, like in that kind of sense. It's not pro sports where we get bonuses for allowing the least amount of defensive points. I'm sure the NFL has that, but we're all brothers off the court. So I wouldn't like to intentionally embarrass anyone on the court. And I feel like beating a team in lovely, whether it's a youth team or it's a competitive team, doesn't look good, because at the end of the day, you have relationships with these people off the court.
Fair. I'm not going to give the points till after, okay, because I don't want anybody to be influenced by what I think is a good take. KJ, what is your take? Beat people lovely? Don't people listen? I play with KJ in practice every week. He's down to beat people lovely any chance he gets. KJ, what is your take on beating someone lovely in a tournament setting?
I think I think us as a community of volleyball, like volleyball players, we need to come to a conclusion that, hey, whatever happens on the court stays on the court.
Fair
I
enough.
think you have to earn every single point, and if you don't earn a point, hey man, move right along. You know, you take the L and you get better from it, and you hope it never happens again. So,
Okay. Fair point. Matham, what's your take on it? What do you think? You know, have you? I don't know if you've been on the other side of a lovely loss, but I have, and it's not easy to take and move on, especially with a young team like yours. What would you do? What is your take?
Well, we have gotten it. I mean, they gave us that, take that 1 point. But honestly, I feel like there's too much sensitivity around it. I think it needs to be practiced and just go for the love. Who cares? I mean, it's a team sport, and you know what? They'll learn from it. They'll grow from it. If they don't deserve to win. So leave it on the court.
Wow. Yeah, I like that ruthless take. Irfan, he brought up a good point there, right? Would you rather take the love or take the extra point, right? The extra point is kind of like, charity. What's your take on beating someone love or being beaten love?
When we had our Jaffrey's Stars team, youth team with Kizzer, Abbas, and everyone, we lost 12 games lovely in a row. So our direction,
wow.
yeah, we were like 8 or 9 years old. We were super young.
Oh, okay,
So our direction went from winning a game to winning a point, right? Like that became our goal. And honestly, we went back, wanting to beat all those teams growing up. So I think it's motivating if you look at it the right way.
Okay, fair enough. 3 points for Irfan, 4 points for KJ, 3 points for Matham, and 5 points for Mo Kaku. What a take, brother. What a take. I agree with everything you said. Anyways, next topic here. We're going to go with KJ. In your opinion, KJ, and I love that I'm asking you this because I think your take will be much different than everyone else's. What is the most important position on the volleyball court today, in your opinion?
Flat out, I think front center. Flat.
Mm.
And here's a reason. We have won games where I have broken. We have won games where Imran has broken. But I think we have most consistently lost games when Hilal's broken. It's like he's like the backbone. You guys, the front center is the backbone. It's like right front and center. Like you can't dodge it, right?
Yeah.
When the middle
Fair
drops,
enough.
everyone just tries to make up for this lack of a person being there, and everyone fails. I think
front center.
Yeah.
Okay. Matham, what's your take? You're a backline guy. You played front line with Thurab and United Stars in Stanmore. How important are those positions? One of those positions. Like, what do you think is the most important?
I think if you have a complete team, I think when you're looking at overall, I feel like netty is the most important position. We have had experience with, solid players that are in the outline, but the netty was not maybe as efficient in a tournament. And we've had the opposite, and the netty is just, on crack, and he's killing it, and it changes the whole thing for the whole entire team.
Oh, man, I love that. Yeah, that's a good point. Irfan, KJ just said front center. You're a front center. Do you think front center is the most important position on the court?
Yeah, I was trying to be creative with it, but I have to go with front center. Being in front center, the way the game has evolved, especially last tournament, I feel like it's the only position where you're not allowed to just return the ball anymore, right? So if you're not doing something with the ball, or if you're not putting it in the net, you're negatively affecting your team, and everybody sees that. So it's a lot of pressure. So for that reason, yeah,
that's a good point. Mo, backline guy, frontline guy. You played multiple positions. You've done it all. People call you Kizzer Light for your abilities on the court to play multiple positions. The diversity, the variety of positions you can play. What is the most important position in your mind?
Yeah, I hate to copy everyone, but I gotta say front center. The games run through them. I've played, I think, one tournament in front center, and I felt the most involved when I was there compared to any other position I played.
Yeah.
And look at all the champions in the past few years. Like they all have household names in terms of volleyball, not the front set position, but in terms of volleyball, like Hilal, Irfan, Amir Ali, Kiz when he was there. And I think your netty is as useful as your front center, and your back center is as useful as your netty. So it all starts with the front center.
Wow. Right? Wow. Mo Kaku's about to win some swag real soon, about to eliminate all three of you. We're going to go 3 points KJ, 3 points Irfan, 4 points Mo Kaku. But Matham, your take was number 1. 5 points for Matham. I agree. Netty, your front center can hit the net as much as they want. You don't got a netty to lift. There's no control. That Netty lifting to your third line guy, which I wouldn't necessarily mind. But I'm just saying, lifting to third line guy, hey, brother, doesn't really affect anything, right? So, okay, great take. We're gonna move on. Back up to Matham, Minnesota, and I left this for you. 18 teams, 18 plus teams potentially. There's more potentially in the works that you guys are boasting this tournament. I think it's going to be bigger than Orlando. And a place like Minnesota, which I don't think any of us thought would happen. I mean, it's amazing what you guys have done. I guess one tournament this year, and it's everyone's coming together, everyone's culminating, but that only means more pressure for Minnesota Jaffrey's to finally win their first championships, which you guys have been so close. Edmonton finals, Orlando finals. This was supposed to be the one. Rumor has it, the third day may not be at home in your, well, I don't know what you guys call it, NPC, right? What's going to happen? Tell me. How much pressure is on you guys and for you to win in Minnesota?
Well, first of all, we're all excited. And we want to thank all the teams for coming. To be honest, I don't think we have much pressure. I think a lot of people think it was a fluke that we got to the finals in Orlando. I think all the pressure is on Orlando Union United Stars. And we're going to come in and do some we're gonna definitely shock some people again. And I know there's definitely those ones that are doubting what we can do, but we're gonna make a run. But I don't think we necessarily have pressure, to be honest with you.
Okay, I like that. Irfan, what do you think? Minnesota, home court, home crowd. They like the cold. They like it in October. We don't. We're from Florida. We don't like it. What do you think? You think this is more pressure for them than it's ever been?
I think there's a lot of pressure for them, but I think they work well with pressure.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of kids that have no fear, very passionate. They use the crowd to their advantage. So I think they do have pressure, but I think they'll use it to their advantage. Now, expectations, that's a whole nother topic. Last semis, we had one Irfan with expectations. Now we have two. So we'll see. We'll see what expectations.
Van Kassam, brother. Yeah, you're right. I like that. Mo, you are a team that's on the rise as well, right? Kind of been rivals, per se, to Minnesota. They've taken a step up. You guys are looking to take that step next. Do you think for them, it's about time now for them to win a championship, and you think the pressure's knocking on their door?
Yeah, no, I definitely think there's a lot of pressure. Like being in the last two finals will give them experience with dealing with that pressure. So you can't say they haven't experienced it, but it's different with the home crowd because, they go to Edmonton, they get to the final, like they played phenomenal. In Orlando, to me, it looked like they were like, okay, we're going to prove to everyone it's not a fluke, right? So you're kind of playing with that edge. And now you go to Minnesota where their crowd has probably developed expectations, be like, okay, they're going to be competitive. They should be challenging. So I think it's a different type of pressure than they've had before. So,
my man,
different ball game. I do want to add though, it's home crowds are not like another person on the court, so they got that to their advantage.
Fair.
You never know what can happen.
KJ, hometown Minnesota boy. Part of you still kind of roots for them to do well. You saw all these kids grow up. As much as you're a competitor, as much as you play against them, how much pressure do you think is on them? The same pressure that was probably not on you guys in 2012, because I don't think they had the same expectations as you back then.
I think every home tournament you're gonna have pressure.
True.
But Minnesota is just like Minnesota nice. Whether they win or lose, it's okay. So I think that type of pressure, it's like, in that sense, it's like, they're gonna be forgiving and all that stuff. And the team is young. They still got a lot of, their tank ain't empty anytime soon.
Yeah.
But I think any home tournament, you're gonna have pressure.
Yeah.
And I mean, they've climbed the ranks in terms of how they're finishing every tournament. I think they're knocking on it.
Yeah, I agree. Mazahir, let's give 3 points to Matham, 4 points to Mokaku, who keeps killing it, 2 points for Irfan, and 4 points for KJ. I liked your point, KJ. I think that was a really good one. First time in the fours for you. Mind you guys, I do not know what the leaderboard is, so I'm not biased. It's not like I'm trying to make you guys one up each other. I can't see the points yet. So after 10, we'll find out who. I'm just legit going based off what you guys are saying. Next up, Irfan, I'm going to talk to you about something that I think is perfect for what I want your take on it, because you've been a part of it / you've seen it happen. we see a lot of guys today jumping ship now more than ever, right? Does loyalty to a team matter as much as it used to? Is it considered ring chasing? Or are teams just stacking talent to be competitive because the teams now are just insane in terms of talent?
That was part of my answer. Going back to basketball, a sport we watch a lot, teams have to stack up just to have a chance to win a chip. So, looking at a team like Orlando, the chemistry they built, the years they played together, not many players, including ourselves, had that opportunity to have a core that big or that long. So I don't blame them, and it's really their only chance to win with this competitiveness and this landscape.
Do you think that taking on 2, 3 new guys and stars, very well known to add people to their team every tournament to try to win, right? I talked about this in my interview with Rob, right? Very Mamba mentality ish. Like, we're gonna go there to win. We're not going there to lose. Nobody, some of us are trying to go there to grow. You guys win, win, win. Do you think that it's okay? Do you think that if it was you moving to someone else, would you do it or stick with your guys?
Well, I think everyone that joined our team joined for a long-term purpose. So they
I like
didn't
that.
come just to win a quick tournament. They came to be a part of the culture. And yeah, I think it's a great fit. I think mentally they help our team, which is something that we should talk about more, right? They're very
Yes,
even
agreed.
keel. So
Agreed.
yeah, I,
Agreed.
I I think it depends on what their intention is. They're here to be here long term, so we support that.
Great take, brother. Mo, what's your take on it? Loyalty for a man like yourself coming from a mediocre, medium-sized team, medium-sized community, kind of just having to grow your own players and kind of, have a farm system and find the diamonds in the rough. It's not as easy, right? Picking up guys could be an easy way to get, you know, accomplishments or quick results or trophies or whatever, right? For you guys, you guys have had to work through the grapevine. What do you think is the landscape of volleyball now in terms of people stacking teams slash picking up players, or do you think that loyalty is just kind of lost now? There's not real much loyalty anymore with certain teams, right? Again, Toronto different, Vancouver different, Orlando different.
Yeah.
It's Toronto's a
And
much bigger player talent pool.
I think that's a big thing is that in Toronto they have multiple teams. Like,
Right.
it's not hard for you to jump from one team to another and have to,
Right.
like some places you jump teams, you're not playing volleyball for half the year because there's nowhere to practice, right?
That's true. That's true.
But I think loyalty still exists. Like, players have a right to choose where they want to play, and if they feel like for their intention, the team isn't on the same attitude and wavelength as they are, they can go play with someone else that gets along with them. Because it sucks when you play a tournament with people you don't really gel with, and then you go to the tournament, you don't win a chip, so it's not really a success, and then now you're like, okay, I didn't really enjoy it that much. But I think every team has the ability to develop their own players. Proof is Orlando, Stanmore, right? Like, they didn't really bring on that many players, and
That's
they've
true.
been pretty successful. So
That's true.
I do think it's a bit of ring chasing. Because we tried it in Vancouver. We tried to push players together, and Eddie's told you in his interview, like, we just decided to axe it, take a few years of development, which sucked, but like we're kind of getting there now, and it feels a lot better. When we watched our youth team play, that was one of the best things we saw in Orlando for us.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. I like it. I like your take, KJ. Homegrown, right? Like, just you play for a team that's homegrown. And we're gonna go to Minnesota next, homegrown. You guys, we don't have the luxury that Toronto does or Vancouver does, for example, where we can pull players from other places. We kind of just have to deal with our own. What's your take on loyalty today and the idea that teams are taking players from outside to be more competitive?
I first off, I just want to start and say that credit to the previous leaders of our Orlando Union, the Hilals and Arfleys and the JJs and all these guys who groomed the next generation to start taking over and actually grow the club to the point where we are, where we have to actually argue on who's on the A team because there's so much talent.
Yeah.
Right. I think every community should do that. I think every community has the ability to do that. And yeah, it takes, just like Vancouver said, just like Mo said right now, that in Vancouver, it takes a long time, but the fruits of it it's just amazing, right?
Yeah.
I I don't think it's ring chasing per se because we don't get paid to play. I mean, we pay to play. You know what I mean? So it's not really a ring chasing thing. I think it's just more of an ego boost, in my opinion. But if you're there for the long haul, I mean, make it loyal. Make yourself loyal to a club, and push it to the end. That's my opinion.
Fair.
Yeah.
Matham, you have in the past taken players, at least one that I can remember, in Altaz, which led to a quarterfinal victory against Minnesota, where you did the worm from one end to the other. Right, you were crying your brains out. You were rocking a little mustache that that one that you didn't turn balig yet. Is that, anyways? You are also a man that has grown with your guys. I mean, I talked about it in my last podcast when I recapped the tournament, where you have a team that's diverse, brother. You have Iranian people, you have Koja people, you have Isnash, like you have everybody, and you brought everyone together, and you helped them learn the game, and you grew them, and you again don't have the same capabilities like somewhere like Toronto or Vancouver has, or east west of Canada has. What is your take on, number one, loyalty, and number two, team stacking the talent on their teams to be competitive?
So I think loyalty does still exist. I see it in most of those staple players of each club. Orlando Union has those players that are going to be loyal always. United Stars has those loyal players. Vancouver has, everybody has their few. I do think we are in a little bit different situation compared to the rest of the clubs that are being represented today. We have a very small community, so it was not easy to get players. And to be honest, I mean, it helped us to at least get going to these tournaments, to kind of get a taste of some success. But what we've gotten to right now, I mean, we still got a long ways to go. We have not proved anything. Teams can, I guess you can call it ring chasing. I don't really consider that. I just kind of take it like, let them stack up all they want. It's just, odds are against us. We'll take them down. It'll be sweeter. So I don't know. It doesn't really bother me, to be honest.
Fair. 2 points for Matham, 3 for Irfan, 4 for KJ, 4 for Mo. Good takes, guys. We're going to run to Mokaku now. Mokaku, I got a question for you. And I mean, your brother, a very good serviceman. I've seen him serve for many teams. How much does a serviceman truly affect the game, in your opinion?
I think it's massive. Yeah, you could say service points don't come often when you play against a big team, but the ones that do are huge, because again, you're getting a point that way. And I think with good servicemen, you can get on the offense a lot faster because that ball gets popped up and they're going net, right? And at the end of the day, like you can't write off a serve when they have a good serviceman. For example, like Mehdi's serve, like I'm sure like he put some pressure on it, right? And he's a little adaptable with what he does with it. So I think it's very important. I think when you have someone who doesn't have a great serve, there's risks of the ball going out. You lose the ball like that, right? And that can really hurt your team's momentum. So yeah, I think it's very important.
KJ, what's your take? You've been with many good servicemen in your day. Does a serviceman truly affect the game as much as people may or may not think?
Yeah, I think it's massive, the benefit of a downfall of a serviceman. We've been in situations where first 7 points we're losing and we're down lovely, and all of a sudden our serviceman takes 3 points. Those 3 points literally push us to the edge. Like they push us all the way through. That it builds that momentum from the beginning for us. But on the same token, we'll be up 5-love on someone and it's gonna be an easy win, but 2 messed up service. And next thing you know, we're battling for the win.
Yeah.
I think it's huge impact. Definitely think it's a massive impact. Yeah.
Matham, how much do you think a serviceman affects the game? Because you are a serviceman yourself. You have a very good serve. But in Edmonton, it kind of let you down a little bit, right? And I think that, that played a toll in the outcome of the game. But nonetheless, you also took a bunch of points. I mean, you're a great at serving. How much do you think service affects the game today?
Thanks for that. Well, to be honest, I didn't really think servicemen actually mattered that much before Edmonton. I really did not I didn't appreciate it that much, to be honest. Like I used to think a good serviceman is just one that takes points. And then after experiencing Edmonton, I appreciated Ummo for the first time. I think it's really underestimated. Like that first ball coming over the net can change the whole game. Like it just gets that offense going where, I don't know, we've matured more as a team. Like, we can see how much of a difference it can make in a game. Whereas, the usual probably beginner or, mediocre volleyball player probably thinks they don't make that much of a difference until you actually experience like making a run. It makes a huge difference to get that momentum going.
Yeah, fair enough. Irfan, you have one of the best servicemen in the game on your side, on Oscar Uncle, right? Thurab has a great serve. I've seen Jabber has a great serve. What's your take on servicemen and how much they impact the game?
Yeah, I mean, just going back to our biggest win against Faisal, 20 to 30% of those points were off the Rob serve. So
Yeah.
that just instantly came to my mind when I listened to this question. And even looking at our semis against Stanmore, we had like 5 to 10 rallies that were 5 minutes each.
Yeah.
Game ending 2-all. So yeah, I could win a game for you in it, even a final. So yeah, I think it's super important.
Yeah, fair enough. 2 points for KJ, 3 for Mokaku, 3 for Irfan for going way back in the time machine and reminding me of that. And 4 points for Matham, 1 extra point for shouting out Amukimji. That may never happen again in his career. So, my man. Yeah. I love you, brother. We're gonna go to KJ. KJ, I think this is a good question for you because a team that is very reminiscent of what Orlando is about, a mimic of Orlando, a team that is built like Orlando, as many people have said, in Stanmore, missing in this tournament after a great start in 2022 where they won their home tournament. Yeah, they showed up in Orlando and maybe didn't have the best outcome, but nobody thought they wouldn't be here. One tournament a year, they're definitely there. This is the tournament this year, and they're not there. What do you make of that? And do you think there's hope for them to come back in the future? It's maybe New York next year.
I think the sport runs in our blood. There's no way they're done, especially with the amount of talent they have. They're not done. I'm not sure actually as to why they're not coming. Maybe it's why in December or something. I don't know.
Yeah, Dubai in December, but I also hear some rumblings that a lot of guys have taken some time off and
Yeah. That's for sure. I if they do hang up their shoes, I mean it's a waste of talent in my opinion because that team is
Agreed.
extremely talented. I I hope they come back. I don't know what else to say on that. I mean,
Same.
we our matchups are one of my favorites.
Yep.
Always. When
Agreed.
we see Stanmore, it's going to be a shooting show.
100%.
Yeah. Hopefully next tournament.
Matham, I'm sure you're hoping that Stanmore would be there this time. I know you have some other teams coming from South London, and potentially some other teams from abroad. But what is your take on Stanmore not coming to this tournament, and of course the ability that for them to come in future tournaments? Because again, we've heard the rumors that some guys have moved on to other things. Moved from Stanmore. Like what is your take on Stanmore and them missing out here because we're gonna miss them?
Yeah, for sure gonna miss them. I mean, personally, I'm quite disappointed they're not coming. That's a team I was expecting to hopefully be here. But honestly, you gotta give them the respect. They did get the dub. They took care of a chip. I hope they can come back because honestly, coming from a small club, it's hard to give excuses to a club when they have so many options of players or why you're just try and groom them, bring them up, even if you lose a few players. Let's get these young guys in there and try and make a switch or whatever it is. So yeah. I hope they do come back. They're good for the sport, and they're just a fun team to play against. So I do hope they're back soon.
I agree. Irfan, you've been through this yourself, I'm sure. When you win a chip, sometimes the fire starts to kind of run out a little, right? And you move on to other things, and potentially slowly after a couple of L's, you come back. Maybe that's where Stanmore is. I don't know. No speculation here. I'm just saying we're gonna miss him. What is your take on Stanmore after again? They just won, and it just was a year, last month. What's your take on them missing now and potentially if we're going to see them in the future?
First of all, the sport needs them. They're a top tier team. We need top tier teams. I personally love playing them, as everyone else has said. And most importantly, like Matham said, they bring a positive element to the sport, which is huge. I don't think, knowing them personally, they would have stopped. But if they did, I'm sure once they watch the live streams, that itch will come back. They'll figure it out.
That's what
They
I'm
have
hoping
enough.
for. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. Mo, what's your take on Stanmore? You again come from a similar situation where you're kind of homegrown, kind of bring a team up, and they've done the same thing. They have so much of a talent pool there. They have 3 courts on any given Saturday night of different tiers. Do you think maybe it's time for a rebuild and they come through, or some new players get influx into the system, or do you think those guys still got some run in those legs and they can still come back and make a run for it in the next tournament?
I think they can come back. I mean, drawing on a personal experience, like living in a city that's a little farther away, like going to these tournaments travel wise, if you don't have your full team, it definitely impacts your decision on whether or not you want to go. Because you don't want to get there after being competitive and just end up getting like wiped the whole time. So that being said, I think Dubai being close to it, it's impacting it considering how many people they're sending there. And so I think it's premature to say they won't attend in the future. And I don't know. I mean, Mutz has moved, as we all know, like he's not there anymore.
Right.
But I don't see how they wouldn't be competitive with the depth they have on that team, like Khalil Kaki and Elegance. These people could easily step in and they would still be
top-tier guys, man.
right?
Top-tier players, yeah. 100%.
They're a deep team and they've got youth like people have mentioned, right? So I think they can still build something easily 100%. And I think they will be back. I think writing them off is premature.
Yeah, fair enough. 3 points for Mokaku, 3 points for Irfan, 3 points for KJ, 4 for Matham. I liked your take on that, Matham. Maybe time for them to start bringing in some of that talent pool that they have. Hey, if you can't make it with your best guys, try to still come and showcase your talent. Those kids need it. Those kids need to play. Those kids need that game time, right? That experience. We're gonna move on to Matham. The game, I think, for the last 15 years or so, had a little bit of a negative shadow casted on it. But I think the new generation is starting to create a positive atmosphere. Do you think we need to continue that more with obviously these great tournaments and, I think pushing the youth and pushing good narrative? And do you think we need to use this platform for other things and causing awareness to other things like Orlando did for Nasiha, like charities, brotherhood, sisterhood, all those things, right? Like you guys are, again, I think 20 teams for women, right? That's huge. That's probably the biggest women's tournament ever. Okay. These things are great for our community. Do you think now we've stepped in, we've made a difference, we've tried to make this a positive thing? And do you think we need to continue to bring awareness to other things by using this platform?
Yeah, I think things have changed quite a bit as somebody growing up and looking up to probably, all of you guys on this live right now. I was looking up to you guys when I was young. And I will say, as somebody my age, I really appreciate seeing how everybody's kind of getting along a little bit more than they used to. And there isn't that negative vibes. And I feel like it makes it more exciting to go to a tournament. It makes it more exciting to see friendly trash talk. Like I think it makes it a lot more special. And I think we're heading in the right direction. But I do think we can take the next step. We have our community, like volleyball community financially is very, like, alhamdulillah, really well to do. And there's a lot we can do more with these tournaments. I don't think we've tapped into it 100%.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think what Orlando did with Nasiha was really cool. It's just about the resources. They have a bigger community. They have more reach, more people that can kind of work on these things. It's tough for a smaller community like ourselves. And I think if we can work together more and more and kind of put maybe personal things aside or whatever, maybe 15 years ago aside, I think we can impact the next generation and really change these games for the better.
Yeah, I agree. Good take there, brother. Irfan, you've been around this game. Our family's been around this game for a very long time. We've seen it all, really, right? From the times our dads were playing till now. New York, Toronto, everything. We used to run at Stars practice and, chase the ball around when we were young and blah, blah, blah. You remember the times then? You remember the times now? A lot different now, I think. What is your take on where the game is heading positively, hopefully, and what we can do to better this sport and this platform that we have?
Yeah, I'll speak on this from, the sense of what's happening in Toronto. I've personally seen since this platform has grown, the youth here, it's expanded massively. So we've always seen, New York, Orlando, Minnesota, the kids have been excited. In Toronto, not so much, even though we have the biggest community. We have 3 youth practices a week now with
Wow.
40, 50, 60 kids,
Wow.
8 teams. It's massive, and they all talk about the interviews, the live streams. So it's been positively affecting everybody. I think we use the sport and the attention the youth gives to the sport and direct that towards the other topics. That would be a great way to start, because in Toronto, like I've said, I haven't seen anything grab anyone's attention the way the sport has recently.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. I like that. Mo, you and your brother, me and your brother have had this conversation. We had it on our interview. He talked about so many things that we could do with this platform. Where do you see the game heading and the vibes that we have now? And what can we do with this platform that we have built, I think, in the last 10, 15 years ourselves?
I think the brotherhood and the sport's growing compared to how it used to be. People get along a lot better, and there's respect off the court. Like knowing everyone off the court is your brother. So taking that negative part of it out of it is very good, because you don't want to cause any issues on a personal level off the court. And I think that's the first step to coming together to create something that everyone can benefit from. So, for example, Marhum Fazl Virani and Zara Trust, right? Like he created that, and it kind of became a bit of a backbone for Stanmore, because it kind of reminds you of the purpose of the whole thing, like the brotherhood, the fact that we all have these resources that we should donate and we should like support other people. It's a chance for community, friendship, and I think we should grow that. And I think we're on a good pace. Things like this podcast just to show that, and like even the interviews and things you do at the tournament to see the person is big.
Yeah, fair enough. KJ, we come from a community that's big, and we see it on Friday nights. I mean, we got 8 teams, 7 teams in Ramzan tournament. We got 5 teams, 6 teams every Friday night. It's been growing here positively, I think, impacting the community. What do you think our goal is now and in the next 10, 15 years? And what do you think we can do with the platform that we've created?
I mean, the sky's the limit, in my opinion. Just in the organizing, just on a normal, everyday, day-to-day volleyball. I remember during COVID, people were saying that this sport's done. We all switched to golf. We're like, yo, this sport's done. We're not going to be playing this in 5 years. No one's going to be wanting to play. And then all of a sudden, COVID finishes, or it slows down. And here we are, and we're talking about another tournaments, 30-3. I mean, it's like the sport's in our blood. I think to take advantage of it and do something good instead of, just getting together, it would be, I think the options are endless. I think every tournament going forward, there should be some sort of purpose that is apart from volleyball that we can all pitch into.
Yeah, agreed. No wrong answers there, no wrong takes. 5 points for everybody. I loved everything that you guys had to say. Okay, fellas, we're almost at the end. Second to last topic here. And we're going to go with you, Mo. We're going to start off before the major topic at the end, which I think you all are going to love. But that's going to be the deciding factor, I think. But second to last, comparing netties to running backs. And I say that, and I talk about this in my podcast. Running backs, if any of you guys watch the NFL, notice that they don't get paid after a certain age because their bodies they're just taking too much of a beating. And I feel like today, netties take a lot, especially in today's game, comparative to back in the day. Don't get me wrong. I see my dad today and the arthritis in his knees. I see it. I see it all in the netties. But the longevity is much, much shorter than it has been because of the fact that the game is faster. They're always on the floor. They're moving. They're diving. Guys got like Hassan Maneke was diving all over the place. Mikhail Darcy, right, lifting with on his knees, safe, and all these guys, all these great netties, right? Adil Molidina, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, the list goes on and on. But if you noticed in the last tournament, and Mo, I'll let you talk after this, Saif and Ali Raza Sanasra were talking. And in the midst of their conversation, which I was a part of, they both said that they were the 2 oldest netties in the tournament if you don't take into account Mamdou and Sajid. That is crazy because Ali Raza Sonasra and Saif are what, 28? Some people are entering the prime of their careers at 28. Mo, give me your take on how much a nettie takes now in terms of beating, how much they mean to the team. And are they just aging quicker than usual in terms of their careers?
Okay, I might have a bit of a hot take here, but I think it's the most tiring position to play, but I would say that we're seeing a starting of a generation with people who bump lift, right? And
Yes.
before we used to lift one-handed. And when you lift one-handed, a lot of times you got to go down on the floor.
Yes.
And you're going down. So I actually think that like Safe is still a good netty. He's 28, but he's still solid. So is Aliir Zasanastra. I don't think they're coming out of the net anytime soon, from what I know.
Yeah.
It's still taxing and tiring. I just think this new style of bump lifting, where you might not have to go down every time, you can still lift a beautiful dead ball. You can say they're getting younger, but I think this generation of netties will last a while because with the style of netties and the style of lifting they do, bro.
I like that take. KJ, what's your take on it? You used to be a netty, right? Before a pool game took you out. But anyways, what do you think? You know, you are a person who has told me many times, rely on Hassan Manekia and his ability to move around and help you. Right? And all the crazy hits and shots and bumps you take and blah blah blah. What's your take on the netties today? How much of a beating they take and if they can withstand this for an extended period of time?
No, I definitely take I think they definitely take the biggest beating on the court, hands down. There's no question about it. To the extent where I've actually even had talks with our captains and stuff and said, "Yo, make sure netties do not pay for practice. Period.
Yeah.
If you want to
Yeah.
incentivize practice for netties so that you have netties for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
There has to be something because they're taking the biggest beating. You know,
Yeah.
like imagine going to practice every single week, not getting as much fame, right? I mean, they're good. Don't get me
Yeah,
wrong. They
but
get
not as much
credit, but not
recognition.
even close. Not
Yeah.
even close.
Yeah.
You know, and literally putting your body on the line every single time. Like
And
9 out of 10
tournament, like
people who are
you're
gonna fall in a tournament is gonna be a
yeah,
net.
you're playing 25 games in a tournament as a netty. You can't take a break. There's no third line. There's no I'm gonna sit this game out.
Yep.
You're like
Yep.
C team, X team, Y team. You're playing them.
Yep. And all the weight's on your shoulders. Honestly, like
all of it.
There's so much pressure on you. You know, they
there are
don't
certain
take defensive pressure, but they take a ton of offensive pressure.
And not only that, I feel like there's so many things that we can control when we get onto a court. Us outside players, the ball, the court, the smaller, we can figure it out. The ball is lighter, we can figure it out. But when that net's tight, oh brother, it's game over. I mean, it's like something. It's like the hardest thing because you're just getting hit at.
And one more point, it is the hardest thing, in my opinion, on the court to be a good position of. Like, it's the hardest thing to be an amazing netty. It's not difficult. To be very honest, it's not difficult to be a good front right? But it is super hard to be a good netty. You know what I mean? I think all credit to them.
That is a very good point. Matham, what's your take on netties getting beat up? You play with a netty that takes a toll, man. My guy Monty, best netty, he just won best netty. My guy's on the floor. He's busting his butt. He almost passed out in the finals, right? He took a beating and he had to lift to two different places. He had to, these guys have to adjust as the game goes along. They don't get enough credit. What's your take on the beatings that netties take and the longevity of their career? And maybe they should be getting more recognition.
I 100% agree with you. I agree so far with KJ and Mo said about this. I do think running backs is a very similar one. I feel like even offensive line, like I feel like that's another one. Like it's just underappreciated of what they do.
Yeah.
But I will say that I think Orlando Union is very spoiled. So you guys have 4 or 5 sick netties that are like, if they were on any other club, they'd be automatic, like just appreciated so much because of what they can do. But I also think that now the level has kind of changed. Like when I look at Monty, in my opinion, he is probably one of the best nets there, if not the best. But Orlando netties and some of the netties that are out there have taught him a new way that they're not having to die every single time. And it's changed the game for him. And I think, there's probably going to be somebody more athletic that's going to come around pretty soon and they're going to change the game again. And hopefully we can appreciate these netties a little bit more. But I agree with you. I think we have to put some more emphasis on them and really, I didn't know that you guys do that about paying for practices, But if you guys had your own gym, you wouldn't have to. But I guess different topic for a different day.
Irfan, you are a man who's played front center for many netties. And you're also a man that has watched the carousel of netties walk through United Stars for years and years and years until you guys have kind of found your netties after Conan went into semi-retirement, which hopefully I hear is back. How much of a beating do Netties take? Conan being one of them, right? He had to kind of walk away from the game because he was just hurting, man. He was just done. How much of a beating do the Netties take, and are they probably the most undervalued position on the court?
Yeah, I saw firsthand with Conan, getting injured time and time again. And going into what KJ said, being a netty is the hardest spot to be the best at. And, no matter what's come, we've always tried to go back to Conan with all the injuries because of how special he is. It's very tough for them. They also have to play with different rules, different nets every tournament, also practices. And they get the least limelight. So it's a tough position to play with a little reward. So yeah, we should definitely change to the new method and save some careers.
Yeah. Fair enough. 3 points for Irfan, 3 points for Mo, 4 points for Matham for bringing up the gym for Orlando, and 5 points for KJ. Last topic, first round. So I don't know the points, but hey, we'll know. You guys will see it. Give me your best take now. And I left the best for last. Matham, we're gonna go to you. The talk coming into the tournament: United Stars, Usman Lambada, Imran Nasir, Amir. Conan. The list goes on and on and on. Probably one of the greatest teams we've ever seen assembled. What do you think of United Stars, of them coming into this tournament? And do you think this is it? They've got it now. They've got all the talent they need to pull it.
So I think they're definitely the favorites. I do think they're a unique stacked team because they have a strong leadership. I got to play with Stars, and I learned a lot personally. Everybody was bought into one guy, and I think that becomes a challenge when you have a lot of superstars on a team that not everyone wants to buy into the right thing. And I think Stars have that going for them. They still bought into that superstar and the way of how they're going to win. I do think that it's going to be definitely challenging to keep, staying, I guess, disciplined with how easy some games might be for them. I think it's going to be hard to keep that itch going. But I guess from somebody who's super excited to play against them, I can't wait personally. Even if we get rocked, it's going to be fun either way because we got nothing to lose and it's going to be challenging. But I'm excited to watch them. It's definitely something to appreciate, and I'm excited to play against them.
Fair enough. Irfan, the man in United Stars, the man who's watched the changes happen around him, the man who's been a part of multiple championship United Stars teams. You know what it takes. You know what is needed. Do you have everything in your power now to win a chip?
Yeah, I think most definitely. I have never looked to my left and seen an Amir, to my right and seen an Imran, and turn around and see a Jabir, Osman Lambada, and Tarab. It's unreal. And to be the engine behind that is something I don't take for granted. So I'm not cocky or confident. I'm just excited. And I think we have a great chance. Chemistry is obviously the easy topic to discuss, but mentally they're all very strong. So I think it'll be good for us. I think we'll do well.
Fair enough. Mo, you come from a team that have to scrap and claw and find your way to the top. And now you have to go against a team that has it all, pretty much. What do you think about the new revamped United Stars team? You think it's going to work? And do you think it's their tournament to lose?
I wouldn't say it's their tournament to lose. I think they are a good team, but we all know the cycle that they've gone through with the front right and even to an extent the back right, because I'd say Sammy has been there for about 2-3 years. But yeah, I do think they're the strongest team on paper, and they've been practicing together for 6 months. But experience in a tournament with a new group is different compared to practice. You don't go through adversity in practice. There's nothing to lose, Like, yeah, you play competitive practices, but when there's that pressure and a chip and the chips on the line, I think it'll show you what that team's really made of in terms of the mental part of it, because talent-wise, they're like far and above, like 100%.
Yeah.
Could they mess straight away? Yeah, because they have the talent, and I think Imran Nasser is like a massive ad for that because
Yeah.
he's a dog, and you know, I mean, he'll be able to straighten out people, even if like you know, at times when it gets a little dicey.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I like that. I like that. KJ, probably going to be our biggest hurdle, right? What is your take? I mean, it's almost flattering in a way that United Stars is stacking their team to compete against us, right? To compete against the defending champs. What is your take on United Stars team? Obviously, a lot of respect for the guys that have built United Stars, Turab, Irfan, Jabir. But now they have, you know, Lambada, and you've been Lambada'd before. What is your take on what?
It's the truth. It's the truth. I was a victim. I was a victim.
What? So was I,
Sorry
brother.
to hear
So was
that.
I. So was I.
I was
What
a
is your
true
take
victim.
on the new look United Stars team and what what is to come if we were to face them? Are they a guarantee finalist team?
I definitely think they should be a guaranteed finalist team. I think it's just the amount of firepower that's on this team. It's unreal. You know, the amount of top 5 defensive players, the top 5 offensive players. You know,
Seriously.
top
Yeah.
10 netties. I mean, you have
Yeah.
everything. You have OGs. You know,
Yeah.
you got new blood. I mean, it's everything you want in a you know, if you know, Throb's one of the most consistent third ball hitters. If he gets tired or if he can't take
Yes.
points, you got Lombada.
Yes.
You know, if he gets tired, I mean, you could even bring Imran Nasser back.
Yeah.
He's done us too.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Like he's
That's true.
there's 2 players on that team that have literally blindsided us and you know
Yeah.
took care of business. There's some solid pedigree on that team. So I mean, let's see. Let's see. I think there's definitely some finalist potential for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
5 points for KJ, 4 for Matham, 4 for Mo, 3 for Irfan because you said that I've never turned to my right and seen an Imran there before. That is false, brother. That is false. Imran Karmali. Anyways. All right. We're at the end. Moving on to the face-off. Okay. All right. Let's check at the leaderboard. Mo Kaku, number 1, 39 points. You're on to the face-off. Matham, 37. KJ, 37. We got a tie. And Irfan Karmali at 31. But because your last name is Karmali, I'm going to give you a chance to be in the tiebreaker. 1 question for the 3 of you. 10 points on the line. Next guy gets to go to the face-off against Mo. In my podcasts last year, I had mentioned that there is a person who may be attending this tournament as the most, I think, the best backline player in London. Tell me what you think in terms of my take. I want you to now comment on my take as Bilal Kaba being the most versatile and backline player in London. Give me your take on that. Give me your rebuttal. Give me your debate. You have 30 seconds. Matham starts now.
Definitely respect him as a player. He's elite. But I don't think enough is improved on the court. And I think they kind of need to do a little bit more first. And he has it in him. I just don't think that maybe they just have to just work on a more, I guess, standard team. Maybe I'm not really sure what the fix is, but he's definitely got the talent level. I just don't think he can get there just yet. He's got to go through what we have to go through and what a lot of teams are going through, building that process and building that resume.
Wow, I like that take a lot. KJ, 30 seconds. Talk to me about Bilal Kaba.
Talent wise, I think he's, if not the best, I'd put him top 2, top 3. I mean, he blindsided us in Stanmore, took us down like, a few points here and there. I've never seen balls come at me like that. Like it was something legit. He was a legitimately good player. I think the squad may have lacked a little bit of talent, but I think him carrying that team, I mean, that team was what it is because of him. How far they made it. I think with a good squad, I think he can do some damage in the US.
Irfan Karmali, you played with this man and won a championship with him in a tournament that was in Toronto. Tell me your take on Bilal Kaba and what you think of him as a player and his versatility.
Sal, I completely agree with your take personally. Having someone versatile that can
uh,
I could have kept going. Could have kept going. No, Sal, honestly, I completely agree with your take. I think the versatility showed when you won a championship with us to win on the front right. We went through a war with you guys that tournament in the finals, and he didn't break whatsoever. So I don't only think he's one of the best talents in London, he's also one of the best talents, period. With the team that needs to catch up. But yeah, with him winning with us, the versatility comment, totally agree.
Fair enough. I am going to give 10 points to Irfan Kamali, 10 points to KJ, but 11 points to Maitham Mehdi because Maitham is from Minnesota and I'm going to be forced to put him in the face-off. I have no choice. But I like your take, Maitham, because I think people misunderstood what I said as putting Bilal Kaba on a level that maybe he doesn't deserve. I think he deserves it because I played against him. Some people haven't seen that, like you said. They haven't been able to see it. He hasn't been able to showcase it on a better team, potentially, a team that's been built around him. They're working on that. I know. I speak to Ali Walji, I speak to Zuhair Walji. Like, they're working on that. And I think if they hopefully they show up to this tournament, maybe we can see more of him. And mind you, like Hadri haven't come to a tournament here in a long time. It's not like Stanmore where we get to see them often. I think your point was great. I think your point was he's good. He's got it all. But we need to see a little bit more from him. We need to see a little bit more of him. So loved your take. It wasn't like you were sucking up to me like these other two guys. Therefore, you make it into the face-off against Mokaku. We got two guys, Mokaku, Maitham. Here we go. 5 topics. 45 seconds each. Let's run through them. Number 1. I'm going to leave that question. I have one really nice question, but I'm going to leave that for last. Should we still be giving buys strategically to place ourselves in a good spot in the tournament or even to get our B teams in the playoffs? A lot of guys do that, right? They give buys to either put themselves 3rd or 6th or 5th or 4th based on matchups. They also give buys to their B teams if their B team needs to qualify. Do you think any of that is correct? Either one, none, both?
Look, I'll say, like, I've played in tournaments where the home team might, make the schedule in a way where they're playing against the B teams and the C teams later on in the schedule, maybe because to save time or not, but they kind of then have the ability to throw a game or in that sense. And I think that part of it where you're kind of scheduling a tournament in that way, where buys can be given, as in like they're scheduled in the sense where they can be given. I don't think that's right. But if it happens by chance during a tournament, when you have the opportunity to, get better positioning, to get your B team in, then fine. It's coming up in a tournament, like during the play, like during the actual unfolding of the tournament. You get good seeding, but you've seen it not work out, right? Because you got to remember teams place based on how they're playing that weekend, right? Yeah. They might be hot that weekend. So do you really want to go lower and play someone just because, okay, they have a rep of choking in the quarters or choking in the knockout round? Like, I think it's okay to do by chance. I don't think setting it up that way for the opportunities to happen. Yeah.
Maitham, you're hosting a tournament. What would you say? I mean, for a team that wants to, give buys, take buys, you think it's fair? You think it's not right? You think it's something that we should get rid of?
I think it's totally fair. But I do think there's consequences for it. I can tell you when we gave a buy once to get to play against Stars, we got rocked. So it bit us. I think Orlando Union, in our case tournament, they got a buy. They took a buy to play us, and they were excited to play us because they killed us the night before, and then we won that next on Sunday. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess it just depends. I don't know. I guess if a team's elite and stuff, like they probably feel more comfortable. But I think maybe a team like ourselves, we're not ready to give buys. We haven't proved anything to do that. And I do think that if this is my personal opinion, if there's multiple coming from the same club, I personally think the higher team should give a bye to the lower team. They get to practice the whole entire time, from, let's just say, Orlando A, Orlando B. I feel like Orlando should just give the bye to Orlando B at that point. Like those ones are, why don't you just give them the bye? You want to support them. You want them to do well. They're coming from your same club. So I don't know. That's kind of where I look at that point.
Maybe I'm a little old school and I come from a place where you need to earn it. And I wasn't given any buys in my career ever. I don't even think I took a buy. I think at one point I asked Calgary to give me a buy in an arcade tournament because it would have seeded us better and they would have seeded better. They didn't give us the buy and we beat them 21-1. So I think I always had to earn it. But again, both your takes are not bad. 4 points for Mo, 3 points for Matham. Matham, we're going to come to you. We play in a game where today offense is the showcase, right? And I think at times we get lost in the sauce, as Thurab has very eloquently said. Defense or offense, from a game plan perspective, what's easier to strategize against, defense or offense, and what's more important in your eyes?
Defense and defense. I used to always think offense. I honestly never appreciated Imran Walji's volleyball game until maybe 4 to 5 years ago. I used to always think offense, just smash it, go for it. Even like Thurab, for example. I mean, but that thing that Imran even kept on telling me is like, it's all about defense, being consistent. It's defense is what's going to get you. It took us to the next level and it matured us as a team on the court. So I feel like the all-day defense.
Mo, a guy who's very defensively well equipped as yourself, you play a defensive role for your team. What's more important to you, and what's easier to strategize against nowadays, defense or offense? And what do you think wins championships?
I think defense is way more important. I think it wins championships. We can look back at Marhum Faisal. He was the best third ball in the game. I still haven't seen one that's better than that. But I think people forget how good his team was defensively. You got players like Nabil, his dad, Fayaz, Amil. Like, these guys did support him, right? And as well, his defense was phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
Like, you never had a game where the guy would break. You just didn't see it. Like when they beat Stars and RKs, when Stars beat them in RKs, they weren't as steady that year. And we saw that as Vancouver in the quarterfinal.
Yeah.
It's easier to strategize against offense for sure, because you can load one side and be like, okay, they're going to come here to this side and kind of play your game plan into that. Versus defense, if I'm coming up against Orlando Union, for example, I'm like, oh, I have to outsteady them. That will mess with your head. Planning offense easier, defense, like you can't. It's hard to think I'm going to outsteady the other team. There's no like game plan in that.
Fair enough. 4 points for Mo, 3 for Matham. Mo, you're in the lead from what I think. Mo, we're gonna go to you. Should rules be standardized now across all tournaments, especially come net height, court length, width, and then the UK rules, right, where the ball hits the putty and you lift it back, and it's like 16 chances to get the ball over? Do you think that the rules should be standardized across the board? Stanmore's gonna hate me after this.
I think the 100% should be standardized. I think it's with the brotherhood growing in our game. I think it's possible to put together a committee of people from different communities and come up with that, like ball pressure, court size. And I realize that venues can impact that, because, for example, like when we play in New York, it's an open space, so the ball might fly differently than playing in a high school gym, which we've done before. But I also think that we can hope for that. But I really would like them to have a standardized thing. I think, for example, like when you have tournaments that have fit different styles of games, like for when we went to Allentown and it was a 30-foot court, right. And from what I know, not many people knew about that. So we show up there and we're like, okay, so now clearly this doesn't fit like a Stars because they're more of a shooting team, or an RKs still got to the semis, but like it fit Orlando and Joffrey's with the Kizzer. So Orlando's consistency. So I think there should be a set standard for sure.
Matham, your take. You've just played in Stanmore. You also have, been a part of many tournaments, arcade tournaments. The net is lower. Minnesota tournaments, the net was lower one year, right? Like the whole Z thing happened, and Shanu and Abbas brought a tape measure and made Imran Walji tape measure the net and see how high it was. Like, do you think it should be standardized across the board all the way through around the globe?
I do. I 100%. I hope we can get to that point. I think it's going to be challenging for everybody to come to an agreement, but hopefully it does. I think it's needed, and that's the only way we're gonna like ever get out of our shells and maybe try some other new rules. I don't know what else is out there that we can try and test new things. I mean, just from the 5 foot rule, I still have nightmares about how much crap we got for it.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it was practiced. It was practiced for every single tournament after that when, we were told the opposite. So like, yeah, I mean, I think we can get there. We just got to work together.
I think there've been some super cool stuff we've been implementing to make this game fun. The 5 foot rule, I think, was a way to get Z out of the game. I'm just being honest with you because I don't think it affects anybody else. Nobody. Nick destroyed everyone in Stanmore doing 5 foot rule. Okay. But I think the overtime rule that Orlando did was amazing. I think that minute we do it in practice, New York did a variation of that in the beginning with the sudden death, but now the variation of the overtime, like, dude, it just brings a new element to the game. And it's just a super cool element. I think we've done a great job. And I think, we should standardize it. Matham, 4 points for you. Mo, 3 for you. 2 more topics. We come from a game now, well, in the past that was, and this, Matham, this is for you, and you can actually speak to this very well, where there was one back center and the ball was hit the net, give the ball to back center, let him pound, let him pound, let him pound, let him pound. And that was the Faisal era, the Munna era, the Sammy era, the Tarab era early on. And then now it's kind of shifting, right? You see multiple weapons on teams. You see variations where Orlando brought in the V, and then you guys played the V now. And then, Tarab's now having Lambada with him. And you just like, it's like, wow, like so many weapons on one team. What is your take on that era? Do you think it's behind us? Or are we just smarter with the way we use our weapons now strategically?
So I feel like it's not done yet. I feel like, there may be some player that might come out, somebody young who's up and coming and could bring that back. But I feel like Orlando's style of play opened our eyes, and it worked for us. It worked for Minnesota. But I mean, tomorrow we may have to pull a trigger and say, Imran, take it over this game because we're playing against a certain team that, we can I don't know. I guess just subjective to each. I feel like against whatever team we're playing against. But I feel like Orlando just, I don't know, you guys like are all like have ADHD and like it's just crazy. There's too much going on. So one back center, it's impossible to control the game. So for us, when we want a game plan against Orlando, it works. We thought it'd be better to go 2 ways and attack both ways. But I think it's going to change here and there, and there'll be some players probably going to come and kick our butts probably, and he's going to be one player, and yeah.
Mo, what is your take on, you have played with many back centers and one including your brother, and your team is built very differently than most. I would like to think that you have multiple weapons on your team. What is your take on how, that standalone back center era has come from, and what we're going to do moving forward with the use of multiple weapons and a frontline hitter and guys like Imran Javraj and guys like Kizzer and what do you think in terms of the future of this game?
Well, I think a big thing for that era, kind of maybe not coming to an end completely, kind of on the way to, I'd say, is defense just got better. At the end of the day, a back center's ball is obviously a phenomenal, but eventually a team gets used to it, and having that second threat changes it up. So now you're not constantly knowing this guy's ball flies this way and then the next one flies this way kind of thing. Now there's multiple threats, so you're thinking twice. I think we can be smarter with the way we use them, provided that those centers from the old school generation or have played in that generation are willing to share that third ball. Right.
Yeah.
Because it's the threats. Even with Orlando, they have Aliesker as their back center, but you can't not say that Imran Jivraj isn't a threat or KJ isn't a threat. It doesn't work like that. They have multiple threats.
Yeah.
But it also comes with the mentality of the team. Now everyone has a big role rather than having just that back center being I'm going to take the points. Everyone else just play defense.
Yeah. Fair point. Last topic for all the marbles. Matham. We started with you last time?
Yeah.
We're going to go with Mo. Dark horses this tournament consist of teams like New York, teams like North, teams like Vancouver, teams like Allentown. That fourth spot without Stanmore being there, without Jaffries being there, a lot of people would say the top three are going to be Minnesota, Orlando, and Stars. Mo, in your opinion, unbiased opinion, who is the dark horse that steals that fourth spot? The same dark horse that I thought was going to be Minnesota and Orlando, and they pulled it off. Who's going to be that team?
Okay, so just to begin, like I'd say that it's up, that spot's completely up for grabs because there's still moving parts to a lot of these teams. You look at Allentown, looking very different with Union and Challengers. You got a talented youth team with Sammy, who has the experience. And then you got a Union team who still has experience, but they're adding a little bit more seasoned youth from that team, right? Maybe they'll be more healthy and fit compared to Orlando because like I heard they weren't really doing that like physically too well. Now, in my opinion, for those guys, if they had combined that team, like taking the youth team with the United Allentown team, then I think they'd be a shoe-in. But off of that, I think New York has a really, really good shot. I would like to see with them with Yasser because, like you had talked about before in Stanmore, you guys struggled without him.
Yeah,
if he's there, I think they get the fourth spot. I think we're also on the come up, but I think for us, we've also made changes. So, like you can look at Jaxie, like he wasn't even playing in the quarterfinal. So how can you really judge them based on that group?
Very good
and
point.
He'll just gain some crazy experience in that quarterfinal. So no matter what position you play, he's going to be like, okay, I've been here before. So
yeah. Matham, who's going to be that Minnesota this time around? The Minnesota that was Orlando. Who's going to be that team that's going to shock everybody and maybe make a crazy run to the semis, to the finals? That fourth spot, who's going to take it?
I think honestly we're going to be back in fourth spot, but I know what you mean. I do think it's going to be. I feel like New York is going to make it. They're going to make that run, but I feel like Vancouver definitely. I can say personally, like we were sleeping on them in Orlando. They made a run, and it's just going to be. I just feel like that's going to be an interesting game between Vancouver and New York. Is going to be really interesting. And we still have a lot to prove too. So, I mean, thanks for top three, but I do not think it's going to happen after the standings. But we'll see what happens.
I think you're a shoo-in for the top three in your home tournament. I mean, that should not be a surprise to you. You just made the finals back-to-back tournaments. I mean, I think that's warranted, that's earned, that's given. But today's win goes to Mo Kaku. 10 points for you, Mo. 9 points for Matham. Mo mentioned New York, and the moment you mentioned New York, brother, you won my heart. So, Mo Kaku, congratulations. You got a minute. Tell us something that you hold near and dear to your heart about this game and what to expect from Van City coming up in a couple weeks.
I think we have definitely made some additions to our team. So, you guys are going to see the same youth group there. We're going to see with that camaraderie that we've built together, and I think it shows. I think we're going to definitely represent that as much as we can. But competitively, I think we got something to prove, and we have that chip on our shoulder. So we're excited to be there. For me personally, this game, I'd say in Vancouver specifically, our team is really close together in that sense where we're all kind of friends and we all kind of we gel together really well. And I think that's been big for me because it's brought me closer to the community. It's done a bunch of things that only benefited my life in a positive way, just because of the group that we have here in Vancouver. And I can speak to that because Mehdi's done a really good job with bringing the youth, but making sure we tell them, like, you play away on the court, but you got to represent yourself off the court the same way. Like you can't be off the court being a goof and then come on the court and use that same mentality, right? Like we need to be, if you're a good person on the court, represent yourself off the court and treat people with respect. That's the biggest thing that we've taught them. And for me, it's just the respect I've gained for people over the sport, the brotherhood, all that.
Yeah. Thank you. Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you all four of you guys. You guys did wonders. Thank you to the tech guys, Mazahir and his team for everything that they're doing. I hope this show comes to you with a lot of love from all of us, a lot of respect for this game. If we mentioned anybody, in these debates, It's all love. It's just trying to grow the game together. We're all brothers here. Stanmore, don't kill me. Shane Morali, don't call me and destroy me. I love all of you guys out there in Stanmore. Bilal Kaba, send me my checks, my commissions, brother. I keep mentioning you in every podcast and stuff, brother. I have not received one check. But thank you to Matham again. Thank you to Minnesota Jaffrey's. The first of maybe many of these type of shows, and potentially the lead up to what is going to be a crazy lifted podcast series. I know a lot of people wanted to know some of the names this time. I'll drop them here. Sammy from Allentown, Ahmad Sumar from Allentown. KJ, don't laugh. And
no, I'm happy, man. I'm happy. I'm excited.
Yeah, Freddie Virani, and a guy from a couple of guys from Minnesota. We'll keep that surprise for the last one. And then one special guest that I have that I can't wait for.
We have so many options here.
So many options. But yeah, and if we're gonna do Minnesota, it might be bilingual, Farsi, Arabic, have some subtitles. But no, and then one special guest that I have hopefully saved, and he has to get back to me on it, but I'm not gonna spoil the surprise. But hopefully, again, lifted in collaboration with Minnesota Jaffrey's and coming your way, hopefully in a couple weeks. Thank you all so much, and I hope you guys enjoy the show.
Thanks, Al.